Before we dive into the techniques, I'd like to cover some general rules. First, make sure that your lens is clean. If you have a lens cloth handy, that's great, but if you're like me, your teacher's probably going to do. Next, we want to get as close to the bee as our camera will focus. This is so that we can capture as much detail as possible. Things like hair patterns, hair color, spacing of body parts matters when identifying bumblebees. Now, how do you get really close to bumblebees? In my experience, they mostly don't mind you approaching them. But you do want to approach gently. And by gently, I mean slowly and deliberately. If you sneak up on a bee, you can appear to be a predator, which will spook them off the flower. I've also found that it's important to be mindful of your shadow. If your shadow grazes a feeding bee, in a lot of cases, it'll spook them off the flower. So approach gently and be mindful of your shadow. Now, since I'm recommending that you get this close to bumblebees, I want you to exercise some caution. Bumblebees do sting. Now, I've never been stung by one when photographing them, but it can happen. And if you're allergic to bees, or if you're not sure if you're allergic to bees, I want you to be cautious. If a bee is starting to appear agitated, it's a good time to back away and leave it alone and find another bee to photograph. And my last tip is to photograph your hand between each individual you're photographing. The reason for this is that when you come back to upload your images, it can be quite difficult to differentiate different individuals in your camera roll. But if you photograph your hand in between shots, you have a nice, easy visual way to separate out individuals.